Welcome everybody to the next panel on the first day of the PIN conference in beautiful Skopje. The topic for this panel is DIY touring in this region, specifically Western Balkans. We have a selection of esteemed and experienced panelists from various fields within the music sector that we will discuss this topic with. Of course, we will first give some space so everybody can explain a little bit who they are and what they do. My name is Koen, I'm from the Netherlands, but I used to live in Kizela Voda in Skopje, and I've been working as a tour organizer, manager, many various hats that I wear. But specifically in this region, I organize dozens of tours coming to Croatia, Serbia, Macedonia, Kosovo, and I think this experience taught me a lot about this ecosystem of DIY organizers and this field of music venues and audiences. So we'll start in the end with Nadica, because she's the local.
I thought I would be last because I'm the local.
No.
Okay, well, sure. Hi, I'm Nadica Baniška. I also used to live in Kisela Voda actually, but now I've moved one class up and I live in the center of the city. Who wants to congratulate, they can do it. My experience with the music industry started very randomly. I have a lot of friends that are musicians, and I hang out with them and have started seeing how things are kind of evolving. So one day I asked, at the time, my boyfriend's band if they want me to be their manager in a drunken hype, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. And then it all kind of started from there. The band is called Vagina Corporation, just so you get an idea of what type of music they're doing, if that helps you in any way. And then I started working with more bands, and the bands in Macedonia, the young bands, the alternative bands in Macedonia are organized in a collective called Gola Planina Collective. And I, through that, started getting more and more involved. And we also do have an independent label that kind of started from the Gola Planina Collective and grew, I guess, more into Mrtov Konj. That is the name of the label. And with the label, we also do booking of tours for our bands. We do bookings of bands that want to come and play to Skopje, and we find a way for them to play in Skopje. We also do anything and everything that one would feel like they want to do, and that would help the collective and the cultural scene in Skopje kind of grow and be better. And yeah, I also recently started working for Password Production, so if at any point I leave this panel, that is because someone is calling me very urgently about something that's happening throughout the venue. So yeah, I'll stop talking and give the floor over to the others.
Bravo. Michael from Berlin.
Hi. Ooh, this is really loud. My name is Michael. I'm from Berlin, but I grew up in Aachen. It's like close to Cologne in Western Germany. I did since a lot of DIY stuff since I'm young. I do shows since 25 years, I would say. My first show I did with 15 years. I did, like, in my hometown, I did a lot of stuff in a squatted bunker called Autonomes Zentrum. And 1 year I did, it's long ago, I was doing in 1 year like 50 shows. The bands always slept at my place and blah, blah, blah. I have to say I'm not really experienced in touring the Balkans or anything about like that, but I'm experienced in playing every shithole in Germany. Like, there are many places where it's not about the money, where it's more about the beer and the lentil soup and the bad pasta and the overcooked noodles. Nowadays, I'm doing still like booking promotion in Berlin and production for tours, but also Germany, only in Germany. Sometimes like stuff that's close to Berlin, like Prague. Prague is not that close, but somehow it, whatever. But yes, I passed the microphone.
Thank you. Jérôme.
Hi, okay. I'm Jérôme from Lyon in France. Nice to meet you. I'm a co-founder and director of Mediaton, with a company we organize 100 concerts a year in Lyon and close to Lyon, but we have also 5 festivals. One of the most important is Repercussion, one festival, electronic festival, who have 20 years. And it's April, we have an audience of 20,000 people each year on 3 nights. I am also an experience with the booking, because we have a booking agency now. Before the booking agency, when I begin 30 years before, I manage artists. I organize some tour in Senegal with a street theater band and for street children. It was a very interesting experience, and we also organize tour in Turkish or Canada. We've also some partnerships in Bulgaria, in Balkans, so I have a little experience with Balkan, with also Cyprus, with Fengaros Music Village. So we're involved in different action. We have also we organize also concerts in prison, and we're in for me it's very important for the human before the money or the band, so the artistic. It's very important human meetings at first.
Thank you, Jérôme. Kaya?
Hi, my name is Kaya. I work in the venue Gala Hala in Ljubljana, which is in Metelkova, situated in Metelkova city, which is an ex-squad. It's not a squad anymore, but still we do, everything we do is actually do-it-yourself kind of mentality. I run this venue for this 25 years, so I have the, from this side I can maybe tell a lot about touring the bands, but also a little bit from the fact that we have a record label called Kappa Records, and we have few really good bands over there, like Haiku Garden, Ciao Porto Roche, Balance, the new Insan, for example. A lot of you have never heard of them before, but they're nice bands. And we are also helping them organizing a tour apart with the state and city money. So we can throw in, some money for the van or something like that. And of course, we help with the contacts that we have gathered from all these years of working. And this is it for now.
Okay, everyone. I'm Maren from Umag, Croatia. That's a small town on the Adriatic coast. And in Umag, I'm involved in a cultural association of youth, with which we are organizing a Pandemonium Festival. That's a free entry festival, which is completely voluntarily run. It's a 3-day festival with 2 stages, so we host all different kinds of underground and independent artists from electronic scene, but also from the band scene. We don't have really good knowledge with touring. We hosted like 2 or 3 touring bands in the past, but we are still figuring everything out.
Thank you. So I think what makes this panel specifically interesting is that not everybody is specifically comfortable talking about touring in the Balkans, but the point is, when you talk about DIY and about this constellation of music venues, and a word that I will use more often, ecosystems. So small music scenes that are influenced by all the different things that happen inside a city or in a region. everybody does have experience in organizing these shows, like, and all the things that come with it, like the lentil soup or the badly cooked pasta that Michal mentioned. But looking at these ecosystems and about this system when you're preparing to tour in the Balkans and are looking at this map of this larger region, I feel looking at it from the perspective of me from Netherlands, but like in general, I would like to start with Kaya also to explain also a little bit more about the dynamics between music venues that exist in Ljubljana, but they exist also in smaller and bigger towns in this whole region in Western Balkans, of like government-funded venues versus more autonomous spaces that don't necessarily are not funded, but they have a different way of working. And I think when you are talking about touring here in Balkans, it's specifically the smaller venues that can make the difference in making it work. And for a smaller town like Ljubljana, Metelkova is a huge institute of music venues. Can you introduce the larger complex a little bit for us?
Metelkova city, Metelkova in Ljubljana is actually, I told you, an X-squad for those who don't know it. And we have actually a lot of venues over there. Ours is, Galakala is, I guess, the most professional, but still not so much. And it's on the larger scale because we can host, like inside we can host 330 people, but outside in the garden we can host 600 people. We have made summer garden, summer stage outside. Those who are in Ment every year have seen only inside. You, I know that you were there. And it's outside venue also. But then we have a lot of other clubs. Next to ours is Channel Zero, which is mostly electronic club, but still they host few interesting either bands or some cycles, concert cycles, like Level Up. It's a venue, I would say, for like 250 people. Then upstairs we have a living room that is for trance parties, which were probably not supposed to be there because it's on the first floor, but okay. They're like 4 times a year. Then on the right we have Monocle and Tiffany, which are gay clubs. They have mostly parties. They don't do shows, or they make cabaret or something like that, like, or drag queen or something like that. Then we have Yala Yala, which is completely do-it-yourself, not funded. It's more like a bar, but they do shows anyway. So they're perfect for punk bands, for bands that come, don't need any money, just like overcooked pasta, something like that. And then we have Gromka, which is also, they are not funded at all. And it's a really good club, also for 250 people. And they're like a punk organization, but still they do other shows too. And you can come and organize a show over there. And we have Menza Pricoritu. We have a lot of venues. If you're interested, I can tell you this. Menza Pricoritu is the same actually as Galakala, like 300, 350. Then we have also Primarici at Marichas, which is like a heavy metal Paiser kind of thing. And she also does shows once in a while. So it's a big complex, and actually you can find a place for a show there. I forgot what you asked.
No, you
Sorry.
did exactly what I was asking about, to explain how the complex of Metelkova, which was squatted and is an autonomous collection of music venues, as you described, what makes it interesting to me, and I think for many people, is that actually all the venues have a very kind of specific niche in which they function, which is quite unique because everything happens in a complex that is not that big, but for a smaller city in a bigger region like Ljubljana, it opens so many doors for concert organizing and doing tours, because already in that complex, and then you have more venues outside of Metelkova, also in Ljubljana, there is a lot of opportunity to find and to build this audience there. So you can also start in a smaller club and you can try to grow, which also has their impact on the local scene. And this is about this ecosystem theory in which audience, organizers, musicians, record stores, people that help out with bands sleeping on their couch, people that book, everything is part of this larger picture in which it's not so much about, let's say, a more traditionally capitalist system of working, but it's about values and about a bigger picture. And I was discussing this with Narisa from Gola Planina Collective from Skopje before. How do you feel about this idea about the values, and how does it represent in the work that you do with the collective in Skopje?
I feel like that's definitely at the core of everything we do. I feel like one of the things that we always kind of try to keep in mind is to not get away from the values. That is something that we all have in mind all the time. When we do the things, we check with each other and with ourselves if what we're doing is in line with what we want to be doing. Because I feel like, especially in Macedonia, it gets very complicated because the conditions aren't very well. People kind of forget about their values. Our whole society kind of value-wise is kind of shaky. Everyone is trying to get by because of the economic system and everything being so poorly executed most of the time. Everyone is just trying to get by in some way. So just keeping the values in mind when you're doing something, I feel like is a revolutionary thing to do in a society like Macedonia, because a lot of people will kind of forget about them. So that's why that is maybe the most important thing in the collective. And we all discuss it from time to time, that we kind of have a shared responsibility to remind each other if someone kind of strays, because we all sometimes lose hope. And that is probably the biggest challenge in Macedonia, people losing hope. That in the values that we kind of fight for, there is hope, that hope has to stay amongst those values. And when we do things, this whole ecosystem that you're talking about, like, I find it very fascinating that you're talking about it, because to me that's the most exciting part about it. The fact that this is not just some random things that kind of connect to each other, but it's a very complex system of people and places and collectives and different things, bands, managers, bookers. And in the Balkans, it all kind of works in a very specific way. Like every time I have a problem, wherever I go, with whichever band that I'm on tour, even when I'm alone throughout the Balkans, I feel like there is someone to go back to. There is a community all throughout the Balkans. It's not just we have this thing in Macedonia, we have this collective, we have this community. No, we are very well connected with the people that share the same values as us in the different Balkan countries. And I feel like that's why this specific region functions very well for DIY booking and for touring generally, because if you are a band that wants to do things in this way, you're going to find people that feel the same way about life and about music, culture, and of course all of these things. And you will find someone that will cook you that lentil soup always, and will give you their bed, because I have been to shoot. I've done shows where I had no accommodation, and I found accommodation within people from the community that want to host me, and that to me just feels like we have to share the same values for us to be ready to do these things for each other. It's not about the money, really. No one would have hosted me if they didn't get money out of it. So I know that it's about this shared values and the community that we're creating, and that's why I feel like that, I don't know, there is a special spark to this region. I don't know if other people see it too. I know that I feel it, and the people that are around me feel it too. But yeah, it's a hard battle not to lose hope sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I am doing similar organizing and working with musicians and setting up my own shows in the Netherlands. And for me, it was a very deliberate choice also to step away from institutions and music venues that I used to work for to start doing my own thing and to really propel and platform this community, this international network, which for me makes everything that I do a lot easier because I know how much I believe in it. And as you could have read, and it's not on the big screen, but this is part of the brief of the panel as well. With all the history in this larger region, the DIY scene and the music underground that existed already from the Yugoslav times into today, the historical divides and challenges were the least felt in this underground. A lot of the people that I work with in this region, they always had connections and they were always exchanging energy and bands and audiences throughout the past decades, and it's still ongoing. Something I want to discuss now, because I think now we've mentioned the values and the community and the ecosystem. Simultaneously, DIY does not equate to not be about money or about financial feasibility. It's much more also about the money that you can make by selling tickets creates something which is much more relevant, and that is autonomy. So if you are doing these DIY tours and you're trying to build the relationships with the various organizations, music venues, or communities like in Skopje, you can also strive towards a system in which you can sustain yourself also as a musician better. And Michael, sorry, I would normally use the German pronunciation, of course, but we're an international audience. So you have a lot of experience also in organizing these DIY shows, but specifically also in Germany, this squatting and autonomous scene is still quite big compared to like state-run music venues. So can you tell a little bit about the way that started and it's still ongoing in a lot of the regions? Because for Berlin, a lot of people have an idea. There is a lot of shows still.
I would say in Berlin there are not many places anymore that are like squat related or whatever from the punk background from the 90s. There's only Schokoladen left, and Schokoladen is also kind of funded by the government now. Köpi is one of the last squats. No, Köpi is actually the last squat that's happening in Berlin. And there are also shows happening, but it's only like crust, hardcore punk stuff. But everything else is like completely shut down. Berlin does since 10 years like a zero tolerance policy about squatting. Nothing is happening anymore. So if somebody's squatting a place, it's like 24 hours and it's gone. But I mean, I grew up in my hometown like Aachen, and we had like this autonomous Zentrum. It was also a squat. We paid €1 a month to the city, so it was kind of accepted by the town. And we did a lot of cool stuff there, and it was, it had a completely different vibe than Berlin, actually.
Yeah.
And also, I have to say, like, for me, my experience in DIY, it was also always, when it was still about paying the bands. I never made any money. I wanted to give the bands as much money possible, and there were also fees agreed before. And when I also lost money about it, it's also possible as a DIY promoter to lose a lot of money. It came out when not enough people came. I got always super drunk, and the more money I lost, the more drunk I got. So I don't know why, but I thought like this is a payment or whatever for myself. When I lose money, I don't know. It's also DIY culture is also about being drunk in my history. Yeah. Bad food, bad sleeping places, and alcohol. Because most venues, when you're touring with a small band that don't sell tickets, I mean, there's no pre-sales anyway. It's always like box office at the doors. Worst case, you get a crate of the worst beer you can imagine and the worst sleeping place you can imagine. And I was always like, I was doing like tour management or whatever, the driver, and I'm snoring, and then imagine you're like with 10 people, everybody had like 10 really bad, cheap German beers, and then me sleeping next to them. It's a nightmare. It's like, nobody had a sleep. Nobody was happy about having nice food. Nobody made any money, but in the end, everybody was still happy. Yeah, the vibe was like, it was just about going to the next town and having a good time.
I
don't know if
thank you
what
for
the question was.
Thank you for selling the DIY ethos and traditions so vividly. A thing that I think is relevant to look at, and it's specifically in this region also, is to look at the region and the, let's say, the periphery, so the places that are not on the highway when it comes to touring here. And I was talking before with Marin, because his festival in Umag, it's even though that is not so peripheral as for instance, I don't know, Strumica in Macedonia, but it's also about the impact that the festival can have on a local community. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this worked and how you got involved with this festival and how this sort of ecosystem, that, coming back to that, grew with the festival?
So I joined that association, which I mentioned, Association of Youth, because they were organizing 2 events before this festival came about. And then I joined them because I experienced something that I was not expecting in Umag. It was like drum and bass music, which I listened as a kid, and to listen to it in a small town like our was amazing to me, and so I decided to join them. And over time, I started, volunteering with them, doing bar work or something like that. And then come the time where the older generation of that association left, and then the younger generation, us, decided to merge those 2 events into one festival, which is now Pandemonium Festival. And I think we are doing a good job, because every year it's getting bigger and more professional, let's say, and we get more funds, especially the biggest one is from our municipality, from our town. And what was the whole...
The impact of the festival also on the local audience, where Umag is not a big city, but a festival like that can also really educate a generation of music lovers and younger people that are confronted with the... I was curious about how this worked in your experience.
Yeah, that's my perspective, and I'm not sure about others. I don't have any metrics. In Umag, there is not so much artists. There is like one punk band, which they're very young, and they love our festival. Every year they ask us to play there for nothing. And other than that, there is some few DJs, and the rest of the artists are actually like cover bands for the season occasions. So I'm not sure, and we are actually struggling to get a younger generation in our association, and we are trying to get that problem sorted out now, because we are all tired of doing the festival and other projects.
Yeah, I think this is also this is happening in almost all the circuits, not just in the festival world or in the DIY sector. It's hard to reach the new generation of people to come also to shows, and as Michael mentioned also before, that also reflects in pre-sales and in the preparation and in the budgeting for both the music venue as well as for the touring acts. I think moving on, something that is specifically relevant. I mean, when I talk to a younger band from the Netherlands, and I do a lot of this kind of coaching when it comes to bands that want to perform in Central and Eastern Europe and the Balkans, and there is very little knowledge, I think, with younger people about the realities of touring specifically in this region. I remember having a band on the phone that were asking me, like, yeah, we're going in 2 weeks, and then like, I think the 10 things about the preparation that they would definitely need to take care of, for instance, having passports or any kind of document, and I was like, do we need this? And then I used the word Schengen, and they had no idea what that literally represents. But I think also this, it's kind of showing the lack of knowledge, but also the lack of preparation that will really harm your prospects when you want to organize a tour, because people need to realize that you're crossing several borders. There's different currencies, there's different traditions, there is different languages, there's different cultural aspects of going. I mean, if you start your tour in Metelkova, in Galahala, and you end your tour, for instance, in Skopje, the language will mostly stay the same, but the way the music venues work and the way the concert will be organized can be different every day. This is the reality. This is something with Jerome, because you have experience also with organizing, being part of the festival in Bulgaria, in the very famous communist spomenik on the mountain, Buzluja, I think. Yes. How is your experience in also, let's say, coaching bands from France also to go there? And how can you prepare for something like this?
For me, yes, it's very interesting to have a partnership with the festival, because there is a big audience, there is many professionals who come to the festival, so it can help to booking other place after. When we organize Repercussion in Lyon, we have 5 stages in the venue, so we can book many artists for 40 artists by day. So there is a lot of discover and a lot of audience, and can discover many artists. And the first time I organized a tour in Bulgaria, it was previous during COVID, so it was a little complicated. And we organized it at the final, just at the end of the COVID. So it was we are very involved with the exchange of artists. It's better to, because for human meetings on the tour in Bulgaria for the French artist, Yak was in with the Bulgarian artist, violinist artist Boyana, so she can help. She was very helpful to the tour, and we find the place themselves, because an old musician of Yak was in Bulgaria at this time. And when I organize this tour, I take time to when I am with an artist, I take time to meet professionals and to do meetings. So I take a meeting with this festival, Buzluja Open Buzluja Festival. It's an amazing place on a mountain in the center of Bulgaria. But this is architects who organize this festival, so they are not professional of music. It was like more than an open door of their project to present what they want to do a cultural center, to change the view of this monument on the culture view, and not a political view of this monument, and to take a place of the history, because it's very it's a bad story of the history of Bulgaria. So they want to change the knowledge and to change the view of this monument. So it was very interesting for us also, because it can help for find other place in France for organize our festival. And with this partnership, we We have also have artists who play at the festival. We help them to organize it because they are not professional of the music. On Mediaton, we are in this dynamic of transmission. We like a lot to do partnership, co-production, and co-organization of event. So for me, a festival, we have the chance. We are lucky in France to have some help also to go to pay some plane tickets, air tickets, but we need to have a French institute or a festival who is on this time of exchange with other artists. It's helpful to take the funding.
Yeah, this, of course, it really depends on where you come from. I mean, for the Netherlands, where I'm based, it's the same. Bands that plan a tour can apply for smaller and bigger subsidies depending on how far they go. And with the growth and the emergence of export offices in the various countries, this is also not just financially, but also in terms of advice and in terms of preparation, is your first and most ideal go-to to connect with. So if you're a band from Croatia, for instance, and you're planning on touring anywhere else in Europe, to get in touch with the people of the export office for advice, for help, for potential funding, for paperwork, it can really be helpful. And in general, I think looking at this larger region of Western Balkans, to really get towards a successful tour, you need to build relationships with people, working with venues, working with collectives, to be able to also prepare yourself the best. I play this role a lot in the Netherlands, as I mentioned before, but it will also help you prepare for a lot of the things that are less glorious in touring. For instance, the necessity of things like an ATA Carnet, which is an official document that you apply for in your home country, wherever that may be, and it represents the gear, the instruments, and all the equipment that you bring over a border outside of the Schengen zone. Inside the Schengen zone, there is a free, there is no more borders, so you can bring whatever. But when you enter Serbia or Macedonia or Kosovo or Montenegro, you still need to have this document. Because otherwise at the borders, it can take hours longer, or in the worst case, it can mean that they will just refuse you entrance into the country. And for me, like I mentioned, having done dozens of tours, still every time something goes wrong with the ATA Carnet, or the people at the border don't understand how it works, or the people of the band don't understand how it works. But this is something that you need to prepare. Another thing is that, and I was talking about this with Jérôme and Marine before, you need to have at least a basic knowledge about routing. This is the key word when it comes to touring in Balkans. You need to know how far it is from one country to the next. And that is not just because from what city to the next. Because it's not just about the borders, it's also about the infrastructure, the highways. This is a mountainous region, as most of you will know. So I remember seeing a very cool band that I saw on Ment Festival in Ljubljana, not in Galahala, I think they played in Gronka. I will not mention the name because that would be very mean, but they were very excited. We're going on a European tour, and this is our tour dates. And I immediately looked, oh, they're going back to Balkans, cool for them. And I was looking, and it went literally in 4 days, Sarajevo, Sofia, Pristina, Zagreb. And my first instinct was sending it to a friend in Pristina and sending it to an organizing friend in Belgrade, like, how do they plan to do this? Because even if there would be a highway and no borders, they would drive 14 hours from Pristina to Zagreb, realistically, because there is no highways going through Bosnia. So it will take you a lot more time to go around it. And this is, I think, is a key factor in preparation and doing your homework, is that you have to know that the main highway goes through all the former capitals of the republics of the Federation of Yugoslavia, so Ljubljana, Zagreb, Belgrade, Skopje. And this is the main highway. Everything that diverts from this highway will take you a lot longer to get there. So when you're talking about like going to, even going to West Macedonia, you're crossing the mountains. If you're talking about going to Bosnia, to Sarajevo in general, it will take you a lot more time. So in the end, this band, I messaged their agent, and I was trying to be not annoying about it, but just saying like, guys, please reconsider this routing or skip one or two of the dates because this will be a very bad experience. And I'm trying to also improve this idea that more bands can come here and tour and support them. And then in the end, they canceled the entire part of the tour, which is actually the worst possible outcome, because then they are not coming here. But when it comes to this this routing, when you are organizing shows in Galahala, do you also actively assist booking agents or bands with this preparational process, or is it not part of your?
You mean the bands they play, which play in Galakala?
Yes.
No, of course not. I help them with some informations, but I try to help the bands from our label, for example. And I don't know if there are some people here that are in the bands and are interested in this topic, but it's a little bit off, but I really would like to say this. In order to get the booking, it's really, really, really necessary to have live footage. We always look at the live footage, not the videos so much, actually. It's nice to have good videos also. The second thing that is really important for the venue that you play in and is the technical rider. Technical rider is something that it's really funny to look at, because most of the bands, it's because you were talking about the preparation, and a lot of bands don't prepare that much routing wise, or for example, don't send a technical rider for a festival if you're playing in a small venue. Please have prepared one technical rider for the small venue and one festival rider, and send something, you know. Otherwise, no, I only try to help bands that are at our label. Sometimes also some other bands come to me and ask, can you help us, or do you have any idea where we can play? And yeah, I try to teach them, of course, about the routing, but again, our bands kind of know that, all about the ATA Carnets and all about the region, because in Balkans, yeah, you need ATA Carnet outside of Croatia, and you will not get a lot of money, but you will have a good time. We all know that. And for the Europe, it's hard to get shows if you're not that known, because here it's all about the contacts, and we all know each other, and we speak similar language, at least, if not the same. So yeah.
I think events like this, or similar events within the larger region, like SHIP in Šibenik or Ment in Ljubljana, is in trying to start to build your network of people and organizers, are the most ideal form of like sort of a social mixer. That if you actively try to engage with organizers, and please do as well, this is an ideal moment for that. It can be really be beneficial towards future plans that you might have for you, for your band, or for the artists that you work with. Another thing that comes to mind listening to the various stories is, which is I think is kind of quintessential also in looking at DIY, is that almost everybody has various roles within the system that constantly intermix and are existing simultaneously to each other. For me, it's the same. I am a festival curator, band manager, label owner. Nade, for you, how do you combine all of these things and still make it worthwhile and like feasible for yourself?
That's a hard one because most of the time I'm this close to a burnout because of all of that, but I can't give it up. But I feel like it takes a special type of person after all, someone that's very dedicated to it, first, and second, someone that is very well organized. Because I feel for me, I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I'm doing if I did not know how to schedule my things throughout the day. And I feel like with bands, a lot of the time, what you get is a bit disorganized. They will not be on time. You need to kind of push, like, put 3 type of deadlines so that they make it to the last one, and you actually have the thing done when you need it. But I feel like getting someone that's not a musician, that has a more organizational force into the whole thing. For us, it was the collective. Get things going into a different direction, get things going into a more professional direction. For example, what Kaya was saying, like sending out the rider and having a rider, having a video, having all those things ready. I feel like that is sometimes when we talk DIY, we think the punk scene, everyone's just kind of getting drunk, everything's just chaotic. But I feel like you can have both things at the same time. And that's what I'm trying to do. My band will have the craziest energy ever and will seem like the craziest people ever on stage. But behind that, they will always have the rider sent on time. They will come on sound check on time. They will be professional when they arrive and they won't like fuck around, but they will fuck around after the show, because I feel like you can have the experience of enjoying everything but also keeping it professional. But to get back to the question, like I feel like when you start doing things DIY, you want to continue creating. That's why I feel like all those new roles keep coming up. Like I was a manager at first, then I became a tour manager because I realized what you were saying. You need to know the context face to face. I realized that writing emails is one thing. When I go to the venue, meet the person that I was emailing, is a completely different way of communicating than afterwards. The next time when you write the email, they will actually respond. Amazing. But then when I started doing all of that, I felt the need, like, we have to do things in Skopje. It can't just be us exporting our good music into the world. We gotta bring in certain things to Skopje as well, so that things kind of get, we have to feel different influences, they have to feel our influences, it has to connect all the same, and all the bands that I would meet on tour with my band would be basically the bands I would book in Skopje, because I would think they're good and bring them here. And then when the big one, like for our collective, I feel like the big one is this festival we did last year, and we're going to definitely do this year as well, which is a 6-day festival that happens in 6 different cities. 3 days in a row for one weekend, 3 days in a row for the second weekend. So it's like a caravan. And the idea is, because Macedonia is very centralized when it comes to culture, everything's happening in Skopje, nothing is happening in the different cities. The idea was to kind of bring these very alternative bands that we have in our collective to the smaller cities around. And that is, I don't know, you guys have done logistics in your life. It kind of feels like a big logistical thing, right? But we were a team of people that were just very enthusiastic to do it. So we did do it. And that's, I feel like, what pushes you, like you keep wanting to do more for your community. Again, we're going back to the values. When a group of people has certain values, they're going to be ready to do anything and everything that needs to happen in order to stay close to them and fulfill them. Hope that answered the question.
No, I think it's by describing the way we work, you also can deduce a lot of the ethics and necessities that you need in organizing these tours. I think something that I read between the lines also from a lot of your experiences and comments also, I think what, for me, one of the cores of DIY is that you are proactive, that you are not waiting for anyone else to do it for you, but you are the catalyst of the change yourself. And that means sending out the emails proactively, trying to meet people, trying to help other bands out. And in many ways, there is in every music scene, I know for a fact also here, there is also people that have more experience that paved the way. And what made a big difference for me, because now I give workshops on this topic about preparation for tours, and is the moment that I realized like sharing knowledge and experience is very much key also in preparing artists so that they know that they have to send their technical writer, and that there should be a landscape and a portrait picture in high res and in low res in some kind of Google folder that they share from the beginning so that they don't have to communicate about that anymore. All these things help in preparing bands, and this is not just about touring in Western Balkans, it's about touring in general and becoming more professional as a band. And I think this educational part is kind of underestimated in the way people look at this scene and the way people work like this. I wanted to ask you, Marin, when you're looking at the festival in Umag, is there also that people actually learn new skills while working for this festival? So for instance, if you have a lot of volunteers working there, are they also learning, for instance, how to do sound or how to do lighting? And because this can make another impact on also the way people can help with future concerts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are all learning actually, because we are not from the background of the music scene. We all do all different kinds of jobs, you know, mostly in a touristic sector, because Umag is like a tourist town. So everybody from our crew and volunteers don't have any you know, practice from the musical scene, and yeah, we are all actually learning year by year doing it, but from the like especially sound and technical stuff, we don't maybe have interested people of doing that. So the sound stuff we, you know, book. We pay for that, and yeah. But the other stuff like promotion, like organization itself, hospitality, we are all learning as we go.
Cool, thank you. We're on the last 10 minutes of the panel, so I want also to open the floor. If anybody has a question for any one of us or useful experiences in touring, please raise your hand. There is someone with a microphone walking around that can help out. I see a hand there. Yes.
Hi, I'm Rastko from Novi Sad, Serbia. I've done a couple of DIY tours with different bands. I have a question for basically all of you panelists. Is there, and why not, database of venues for DIY tours? And why are venue riders rare? And capacities of venues rare? Because I know for a band it's important to send a rider to a venue, but also for bands it's important to have before reaching out, to have an idea of capacity and technical side of stuff of your venues. And if there is, I know that there is one kind of, it's paywalled. So where are we on that? Is there such an initiative, or?
Can take it.
I know for Croatian part. In Croatia, we Move Music Croatia, which is the export office of Croatia. They have a database of festivals, venues, and artists, and as far as I know, it's free and it's on their website.
When it comes to I understand and sympathize with the question, but when you talk about the database for DIY venues, and I know they exist, but I vehemently would not like to be on these lists because, as an organizer, because something that you can deduce from the stories that were shared is that this is also a fragile ecosystem of people. When we're talking about DIY community and about underground scenes, we're not talking about an industry of numbers, audience, and euro signs. We're talking about people. And I think these kind of lists of DIY venues, of DIY promoters, these people, I already get 10 emails a day. And people do not necessarily read into what I do. No, I get emails from black metal bands that ask me to book a tour. So I feel when you want to start touring in this circuit, not just in Balkans, but it's the same for me in the Netherlands, it's about relation. So that means preparation, that means actually going out and being a part of this community yourself. Because if you're a part of the DIY community yourself, you give and you can get back as well. It's a more reciprocal system of values, as Nadica mentioned. And having like lists kind of go against this idea. But in the end of the day, you can look at other bands' tour posters. This is about doing your homework. You can look, where are they playing? How are they did? Can I get in touch with them? Can I share this information? These things exist.
It is really funny because we have Google, we have everything, ChatGPT. We have tour posters of bands that are similar to your band. So yeah, everybody has to do their homework. And yeah, of course, for example, of course, we have technical writer on our webpage, and I hope that every venue has it, but it's all in communication, and it's not, I know that a lot of people started some platforms for music venues, but the best thing to ever do is to watch the tour poster of a similar band or the band you like and see where they played.
But it's a lot more work. That's true.
Yeah, but still, what? Nothing is just
No,
given on
that's
a
the
plate.
thing.
So
Yeah, that's what I meant with being proactive and starting the dynamic yourself. You have something you
Yes,
want to
the
share?
best is also to share experience with local bands. It's helpful to be there. That meetings, there's some meetings of like this in Bulgaria, So Alive, or in Paris, Mama. When it's possible, is really very good to know your partnership, because it's you say it's different language, different culture. So when you meet partnership before, it's really better.
I hope that answers your question. Anybody else? I'm looking into a very bright light, so cannot see. I think if there is no more questions, we can also round it up here.
We're right on time. 2 more minutes if anyone
2 more
has
minutes,
something
so
funny to say.
one final question, otherwise we round up. I will again advise you to also look at the delegates list that is here present at PIN and try to find the people that you're interested in working with in the future.
But you are against lists.
No, but then you're starting a connection and you're having a discussion. Like for instance,
But in the end, it's the same. You know, a delegates list is like a list of venues or whatever.
no, but then you know who is here. And then you don't have like a database of 100 people that you can email in one go.
But the idea of a list is like to collect interesting people or interesting venues. So.
Yes, but the people that are here actively chose to be here. So there is an agency with themselves also to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also plenty of people from the Balkans here. I feel like if you want to tour the Balkans, this is the place where you start making your connections. I don't know if other showcases have as many Balkan promoters, festival representatives, collective representatives, everything in one place, like on PIN. So yeah, do mingle. Meet the cool people. Find my colleagues, please.
Perfect way to end this panel. Thank you, Nada. Thank you, eminent panelists. Thank you, audience. Thank you, PIN.
Thank you.
Tonight at 7 o'clock, it's our opening ceremony. Everybody is invited. It's not only for do-it-yourself workers. All the rest are very welcome. So have a nice day and don't drink too much at night because it's everything paid by password. See you later.